Hey, Bucket Pond family, welcome back to the show. This is episode 2 for the Unfiltered Nano Aquarium series. Yes, so this is a 2-gallon planted nano aquarium with no filter, just an air pump. I showed you the entire setup process, everything that went into building this tank, and I shared many of my ideas and theories for what I was doing. So here we are at day 9, and I'm currently feeding the tank with a slice of cucumber and a little bit of fish food flakes. And that's because I've already added the guppies to this project, yes. We did a slow drip acclimation, and here they are. Well, here's the male anyway. So we have one male and one female in here. These are members of my hybrid Guppy Endler population. They were originally some red fancy-tail guppies and some bleeding heart endlers. I acquired them from an excellent fish breeder who refused to cull his unwanted fish, and instead he shared them with me, so thank you. I did pay a little bit for them way back. It was 7 years ago, and I've been so happy to have them. It really bothers me when people cull their guppies because they're the wrong color or something. You're just going to go kill your fish for that. That's so petty, and I hate it so much. But we're going to be happy today. We're going to have a good day. And so this project, the goal here is to create a selective breeding nursery for these two guppies. I chose this female because she is very young, and you will see her grow up a bit over the course of this video and future episodes. And I chose this male because I love his colors, I like his tail, and he is also very, very small. He is tiny compared to his other cousins in the main Guppy aquarium. And you can tell that she's not very interested yet in reproduction. He's trying to get her attention, but she's just a little too young. So we'll give that time. I'm sure they will be a happy couple eventually. I noticed that, in 7 years of raising hybrid fish and allowing them to breed back to each other over and over again, I noticed a great deal of variation in the population. So I have some guppies with fancy tails, I have some guppies with short tails, I have spots in yellow and black and red and blue, and even some greens in there. Very, very beautiful fish, and I'm so happy to have them. But my goal here is to create a selective breeding program to isolate this male and this female and get them to reproduce. And then we can take their fry, raise them elsewhere, and continue the process until we eventually create our very own strain of guppy. And that being said, I will not be culling any unwanted individuals. They go right back into the main Guppy aquarium, and we'll be happy to have them. So we'll pause the guppy talk for a few minutes. I want to focus on the plants right now. This is the stem of Spiderwort that we started with. It has doubled in length, and the other plants are doing quite nicely. The Java moss there is alive, and it has grown a bit as well. And our floaters here are the real star of the show. We have frogbit, watermeal, duckweed, and even some water spangles in here if you look closely. I believe this is Java moss. It's from the main guppy tank. You'll have to watch episode 1 if you haven't already. And of course, there's a link in the description, always. But yes, the floaters are the main filtration in this tank, and they are thriving. Everything's looking really good in here. So we are going to fast forward to day 32. I know that's a big leap from day 15 to day 32, but I want to keep you guys entertained, and I want to show you the development of this tank. I don't want you to be bored. I could sit here and talk about it every day, all day, and you'd most likely get sick of that. But here it is, 30 days after setup, and the aquarium is beautiful. It's just a little bit cloudy in there, and that's pretty normal for a bucket ponds type aquarium, at least for the bacteria and the things that I run in my tanks. Once you put a little stress on the bioload, or once you increase that a bit, you'll see a cloudy water situation, which will clear up in time pretty quickly. But while observing the fish and just checking out the tank, I noticed something wild. We have a ton of bladder snails in here. It's been about 30 days, which is enough time for a few batches of eggs to hatch. And, while just observing these snails, I noticed that we have a couple very large individuals. They could be the original snails that I introduced into this aquarium, but I can basically tell you that my snails don't get this big. They generally stay about the size of those medium-sized snails that you see up by the airline there. So these really, really big bladder snails, they are an outlier, possibly caused by the interesting mutation bloodline that I started this tank with. And I just love my snails, and I like to see the difference between individuals, especially when we notice something wacky, like, quote, giant snails compared to their cousins. But yes, the tank looks good. Evaporation has been pretty dramatic lately. It's been very, very hot here and dry. And so we are going to top the tank up. I have been adding water here and there. And I've also been doing a very light water change about once every 5 days of just maybe 16 ounces of water removed and then replaced. So I don't want to do a drastic water change because we would lose a ton of microfauna and good stuff, bacteria and things that we need for the aquarium to succeed. So our our spiderwort, has done a lot of growing here. That original long stem has branched off and started new shoots all along on almost every node. We can talk more about that in a moment. Right now, I just want to enjoy the aquarium, and I want to add a little bit of extra water. I want to bring the water level up a little higher than normal to account for that rapid evaporation, to kind of prepare for it beforehand. Yeah. But I am blown away by this aquarium. I got this water jug for like $8 at a local dollar store. You can most likely find them on the internet and elsewhere. And I chose this because it was cheap, it was available, and I just saw it on the shelf and I thought, wow, that should be a fish tank. Yeah. But here we are looking at the spiderwort, and you can see what I mean. Those nodes have shot up new shoots every few inches, and each one of these new shoots or these new stems, they can be cut and turned into their very own plant very, very easily. I believe this is small leaf spiderwort based on the flowers that it produces. And I'm hoping that we can get it to bloom in this aquarium. If we do this right, and if we're careful, and a little bit lucky, we should get some flowers eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and feed the tank, this time with some Tetramin flakes. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. And here we are on day 34. I wanted to wait a couple more days before I began cutting the spiderwort. We've got a lot of growth in here, and it's most likely tripled its own biomass off of material that it's pulling out of the aquarium, mainly from the substrate, but also from the snail waste and now the fish waste as well. That all boils down to fertilizer if you handle it correctly. But I do want to go ahead and begin propagating the spiderwort, and I also need to do something about the floating plants as they are kind of taking over the surface of the tank. I want to maintain about a half and half, floaters and clear water. So here's the first cutting I've made from this beautiful plant, and I'm going to put this in its own little aquarium that we'll set up here in a moment. I love this stuff. It's very similar to my dayflower that we used to use, but this stuff is just a little bit larger, a little bit more vigorous, and just a little bit more fun to look at. And it doesn't suffer as much as the dayflower. It seems more readily able to grow as a marginal pond plant. So here's our little tank. This is just some material that I scraped off the filter of the main guppy aquarium, along with a little water from that tank. And I've added a chunk of marble in here to help puffer the pH to balance things. And now we're going to go ahead and add our plant. So this is just a little fun aquarium for me to enjoy off screen. And I build a ton of these. I've got maybe 12 or 15 of them running right now. But it's nice. It's something I enjoy. I have just jars everywhere full of plants and snails and stuff. Maybe you do too. You should let me know. But we will set this particular cutting in this little aquarium off to the side, and maybe we'll look at it again one day. And now we're on to the main aquarium. We're going to go ahead and make several cuttings here. And I'm going to try to be careful. I don't want to torture my plant, but I do have to cut it and move it around a little bit. So far, the island, the floating piece of pool noodle, which I know is a little cheesy, but so far it's working very well to help keep the spiderwort up above the surface and allow it to kind of act like a floating plant in its own way, with the roots down in the water. I'm sure people will tell me I'm doing this wrong and blah, 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 well-draining soil, all that stuff. But I mean, you can't argue with results. I can grow you tons of this plant at any time off of an aquarium. So yeah, we have some very interesting cuttings in here, like this one. I want to know what causes the nodes to branch like this, to split, because I would love to intentionally force it to happen so that we can branch off one stem into many, many different split nodes like this. But I'm still learning. We'll figure that out one day. This cutting will be a little strange because this is technically the bottom of the plant, and I'm not sure how it's going to react exactly, but I think I could just kind of put it in some water and it should be fine. So this is a type of spiderwort, and I might have the species ID wrong. If you have a better idea, let me know. I'm always willing to adjust my my species IDs if I have made a mistake. I am not afraid to say, hey, I was wrong, and go from there. That's part of how we learn. We make a hypothesis, we try it, we check it out, we test it, and sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we may misidentify something. And that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be afraid to do something just because you might be wrong. You have to kind of go with your gut sometimes. You have to kind of take the leap and educate yourself one way or another. But here we are. We're going to add most of these cuttings right back into that pool noodle. And it's going to look a little crazy. But in time, we're going to have a whole forest growing up out of this 2-gallon aquarium. And that's something else that I want to show you guys. This is really beautiful to me, really fun. When I come in here and I just have my little zen moment where I can trim the plants and make some cuttings and just talk shop with the camera and talk to you guys, like, that matters a lot to me. And the plants, they respond. It becomes an exponential growth situation. So we had one stem that has now become about 7 cuttings, and in time I can take, we'll say, maybe 3 or 4 cuttings from each of these new stems, and it's just going to get crazy and crazier. 1 will become 2, 2 will become 4, 4 will become 8, 8 will become 16, and it's just going to increase like that forever. So I will begin right now moving some stems into other projects like that little tank we put together. Otherwise, the whole aquarium will become spiderwort, and I don't want that to happen. But I have to admit, it's a beautiful plant, and it's so easy to work with. If you can find it, I highly suggest you check it out. I got this from my backyard. It actually grows in the oasis wild, so that's fun. And now we're going to take some of the floating plants in here, mainly the frog bit, the larger plants here. And we'll take some duckweed as well, and some watermeal and some others just off the surface. I want to free up about half of the surface of the tank so that we have roughly half clear water, half floating plants. A lot of people lately are just hating on duckweed. I've noticed that. You're not cool if you don't hate duckweed. That's what it seems like with all these trendy videos and stuff I see in the aquarium genre. And that kind of bothers me because when I actually talk to these people, I realize they've never even seen duckweed in person. But they're going to tell you not to put it in your aquarium because it's horrible. Oh my God. And meanwhile, they have no idea what they're talking about. For me, the way I do things, duckweed is 100% beneficial. The worst it can do is cause me to come in here and scoop some out. That's all it is. And when we do this, we are exporting nutrients from the system. We are removing fish waste, snail waste, and yes, some nutrients from the aquarium in general. But I love duckweed. It's perfect. It blocks light to help prevent algae. It competes with it to consume nutrients. And ultimately, if you have more duckweed, you will have less algae. At least that's how I see things. So as it is, the tank is beautiful. We've made some adjustments. We produced some cuttings from the aquarium, and we've harvested some floating plants, all of which grew out of this project. Everything that I've removed was grown here in-house in this tank. So I haven't added anything extra. We're harvesting from this project. If this was a farm, we would be selling crops at the market right now. But yeah. So thank you for watching, guys. Big thank you to my YouTube members and my Patreon supporters, everyone watching the videos, everyone checking out episode 1, and everyone who already did watch that video. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support and your time. And I hope that you come to join the Bucket Pond family and tell me all about your aquariums. I'll have episode 3 up next week, and we're going to have a lot of fun.